Shabbat Shalom. We are in this parasha called Terumah. Terumah is translated as offerings sometimes, bringing something special. Come from the verb rom, that means to elevate. And it's interesting because our Creator tells us to elevate our offerings. Now, he starts with these words, you know, Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And the Lord spoke to Moshe, telling him, or saying to him, Daber el Bnei Israel, tell all the people of the children of Israel, Vayihud li, to bring me, okay, Vayihud li, Terumah, offerings, me'et, kol ish asher yikbenu livo tichud es trumati. In other words, what he's saying is to bring me things to me, okay, according to their hearts. And I'm going to be examining these ideas. Then, in verse 8, he said, Yasuli Mikdash Veshahanti Betoham. Vesuli made me, Mikdash, a sanctuary, a place, a holy place, a place, Veshahanti, that I can dwell, I can be there, I can stay there. And what is interesting here, the ending of this word, Betoham. You know, all the Hebrews, all the people who knows about the Hebrew language, say that the normal would be say Betoho. You know, but they say Betoham, in them. The translation that in the Jewish translation they say to dwell among them. You know, the word among is not there. Okay, that is an interpretation. But really put it, but basically we say is to dwell in them. Betoham, in them. It's interesting that our dear Rabbi Shaul, better known in Christianity as the Apostle Paul, which in my understanding, in my humble understanding, he has been given a very bad name by our own Jewish community because of the misunderstanding of Christianity about what he was bringing to us and was teaching to us. You see, one of the greatest problems that we need to face today, it is that Rabbi Shaul was not teaching to people to be more religious, but I was teaching to people to be dedicated to our Creator, to the one that He has given everything to us. He's not trying to make us religious, but He wants to make us a reality of having a relationship with the Creator, what supposedly needed to be from the beginning, from Adam and Eve. Have a direct relationship with our Creator. The problem is that when you introduce foreign religions into certain thoughts or way of pattern of speaking, when you change from a language that is given and from a concept or philosophical way of understanding from one culture to another culture, and you start making a lot of interpretations or your own ideas putting into what the author of this teaching wanted to give it to us, we become sidetracked or confused by ideas that they were never part of the Torah ideas that were never part in the mouth of a Jew who was like Rabbi Shaul, who loved the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and who followed Torah. This is very important. He never thought that Torah was evil. He never thought that Torah was something that was a stumbling block for us to get closer to our Creator. He told us exactly the opposite. Last week, in the Parashah Mishpatim, when I make this introduction about the words of our Messiah Yeshua, our Rabbi Yeshua, you know, when he told us very clear that he didn't come to destroy, to abrogate, to eliminate the Torah, but to make it a reality to all of us, you know. And then people interpreted that what he came to do was to destroy Torah. The same thing they do with Rabbi Shaul. The question that I always ask to people to think about this is to think a little bit rational. Can a dedicated Jew who has grown up in the schools of these rabbis who love Torah, they are going to betray the basics of biblical Judaism. What is the Torah? Torah was, like I told you before, are the principles, the sayings, the teachings, the guidance for the people of Israel with one reason given to Israel in order to be given to the rest of the world. The problem was not for Israel to keep it for themselves as a treasure that they didn't need to share with the rest of the world. Totally the contrary. What the idea was to share. And it's interesting that this morning, in this parasha, that we have Terumah. You know, our Creator is going to literally test the people of Israel, Bnei Israel, in order that they will share their wealth. Now, let me ask you a simple question. What was the greatest wealth that Bnei Israel had? You see, here is when we need to transcend from the material to the immaterial. This is when we need to transcend from the physical to the spiritual. This is when we need to transcend from our humanity to our being in the image and likeness of our Creator. What he's trying to show us, it is where our heart is, that's where our God is. Isn't it interesting? In the Hebrew scripture, interestingly enough, the word heart, when they use the word heart, needs to be understood not as the center of the feelings. Like I mentioned to you before, now that we're getting close to St. Valentine, you know, it's not the heart, it's not the pumping love that is painted in the Western civilization. But the heart is the seat of the volition, of the will, of the intention, of the understanding, of the wisdom. You see how many things heart has as meaning? Then we need to see this very carefully. Okay? That when our Creator is sending a message to Moses to tell the people of Israel, you know, when he said, וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ויחו לי תרומה מאת כל איש אשר יתבנו ליבו. Giving what your heart, what the heart of them wants to give it. And it's totally, in this way, voluntarily. see after the thing that he's asking. And interestingly enough, he starts with Sahaf, Bachesef, Hoshet, Utchelet, Be'argaman, Betolaat. Start with gold, silver, copper, and goes down. From the highest to the lowest. Let's understand this. In the scripture, Yeshua, interestingly enough, like I was speaking last week, he speaks in the Sermon on the Mountain, in chapter 5. And let me read to you something that's very interesting, because this is something that very few people sometimes they have been able to understand. Okay? He said, from verse 13, chapter 5, Havesorah Matayahu, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. Last week I read from 17 to 21, and now I am going back. Well, because it's important that we see here. He said, you are the salt of the world. But if the salt loses its taste, how we can make it salty again? What if salt is good? It's good for nothing. And can only be thrown or to be trampled under the people's feet. In other words, it's worth nothing. Okay? Let's forget about, because we talk too much about salt, that at that time they have a lot of price and it was very special, it was used in many things, it was a commodity. You know, the word salary, you know, comes from salt. You know, there's a lot of things that I can talk to you about that, even in the Hebrew language, and how work does there. But the idea here it is that, in other words, something very valuable, when you lose the reason to why it's valuable, you throw it away. You know? If today, for example, you find too much gold in the world, the gold start losing their price because it's not any longer something very, you know, and then you start throwing gold. The idea it is that you are special, keep yourself special. And then he continues. Okay? You are the light of the world. And a city built in the hilltop cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp to put it under the top. They put it on the lampstand where it shines. For everyone in the house, in the same way, your light must shine in people's sight, that seeing your good works, they might give praise to your Father in heaven. By the way, the word good works need to be understood in the Jewish way, not in the Greek way. Good word means mitzvot. And mitzvot means to be obedient to God's teachings. Okay? In other words, it is when people see your behavior. You know, we make it, everything is what we call it physical. But here in beyond the physical, show your light. What I mean show your light, show your presence. You know, what I mean is let people see who you really are from within out. Because this is what it really is the real mark of the true believer. The true believer is not how much you talk, it's what you do. You know? How you hear the saying, that you speak so loud that I cannot see what you are doing, or I cannot hear what you are doing. You know, your loudness doesn't make it right. What makes it right is your actions. Then, he's saying to Israel, when he came to restore the Torah for Israel, you need to go back to be the example in the world. to be the example, not to be the stumbling block. And if you lose your taste and you lose your light, what value has Israel? What is the value of Israel? Israel loses everything. Then continue. In chapter 6 of the same Antioch, now going to Terumah. First of all, I need to tell you about what the Torah brings us, what it's going to give us, and what is so necessary, not to talk, but to be. Today, we teach that it's more important to talk than to live. You know, you have great preachers, you have great talkers, and many religions, they want to convince you by talking to you. They are right. They have all their theology, their doctrine, their idea. They are right. They are always right. They have answer for everything. But it's good to have answer for everything if you don't live what you say that you believe. You are a hypocrite. And we have more hypocrites in this world than anything else, because in abundance. Let me read now from chapter 6, verse 19 through 23. Okay? This is all one sector. And then I'm going back to Terumah. Do not store up treasures for yourselves on earth, where moth and woodworm destroy them, and thieves can break in and steal. But store up treasures for yourselves in heaven, where neither moth nor woodworm destroy them, and thieves cannot break it in and steal. For whatever your treasure is, there your heart is too. Everybody stop there, but the idea keeps on. You remember I talk about the lamp, the light, you know? The lamp of the body is the eye. It follows that if your eye is clear, your whole body will be filled with light. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be darkness. If then the light inside you is darkness, what will be? Verse 24. No one can be a slave of two masters. He will either hate the first and love the second, or be attracted to the first and despise the second. You cannot be the slave of both God and money, or God and mammon. This is all one teaching applied to Terumah today. Look at how we need to change completely our way of thinking, how we have been taught, and how different it is with the truth and the scriptures. You see, we want it or not, our bodies are holding down to earth. Okay? More possessions we have, heavier we are. And it's very hard to elevate through ourselves. Okay? I am giving you a picture, by the way. Okay? But I want you to understand. When you have too many things in your body, in your pockets, too heavy, you can barely walk. In order to be light, agile, move, you need to get rid of all those that hold him back. And what is the worst thing that holds us back? Our own treasures. Now, this is a very special idea that I am bringing to you. You know, you will be surprised how many of us, our treasures sometimes are not gold and silver. But still other things that are holding us back. Each one of us, we are going to need to do our own soul search and look what is within me that is holding me back. What is the thing that doesn't allow me to be in a Sputnik, be a rocket, be launched? Because I am holding down. My engines are bursting, but I am still stuck here on earth. My dear friend, Uriel Ben Mordechai, he has a very interesting statement when he's translating the book Igere Romans, the letter of Romans by Rabbi Shaul, in a very special way. And there are terms that is very interesting that he's using to make us more understanding. The terms that were transliterated from the Hebrew thought to the Greek thought lose the meaning when you make a literal translation. Then you need to go back to understand the real meaning. Because when you translate literal from one language to another, like I say, the Hebrew language to the Greek language, the Hebrew mentality to the Greek Gentile mentality, sometimes there is a collision and the terms are changed and meanings are totally destroyed from the reality of what intention of the Word of God. And men put their own understanding instead to listen to our Creator, what he's trying to tell us. And he used the terms about the idea of the Yetzer Ra and Yetzer Tov. You know, this idea about that you are your spiritual part and your flesh, the flesh, sarcos. You know, it is the idea of the Yetzer Ra. It's very interesting because in Judaism we have two ideas or two sides that we have been made with free will. That is one of the gifts that our Creator has given to us. The gift is for us to make our own decisions. This is the reason that we are responsible before our Creator. You know? He could make us robots. He could make us machines. No. But even He Himself, with the love that He has to His own creation, He has given us the freedom. Look at how important it is to follow Him or not. You know, and this is something sometimes very crucial for us to understand. But in this way, we have two sides, the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Ra, the good inclination and the evil inclination. And of course they are in constant struggle. I will never forget this Indian teaching by a guru. They say that they went to India and they found a guru feeling really bad. You know, and they ask him, "Oh teacher, why you are so sad?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I have an internal struggle." I said, "Can you explain to us?" And he said, "Well, let me tell you in this way. It's like I have two dogs inside me. One good and one bad. And they are fighting constantly against each other." And the interlocutor asked him, he said, "Which one is winning?" There is a silence. And then he said, "The one that I am feeding more." You know, this is the idea about all of us. There are two sides in us. They are constantly in a battle. We have been intended to do the good. But there is something in us that make us selfish. Make us self-centered, make us egotistical to the point that we think that we are the center of the world. And this is the problem that we are facing. And this is why Yashuv is talking. When he said, do not store up treasures here on earth. In other words, another time he said, this guy worked so hard to accumulate a lot of fortune. He said, now that I have enough, I don't need to worry anymore, and I'm going to live everlastingly happily. And comes the end and says, you fool, who told you that you're going to live forever? I am coming to take your life today. Can you take all your treasures with you? No. You see, the Egyptians thought that they could do it. This is the reason that they built fabulous tombs, that they become better than their own temples. Very intricate, because these pyramids, they need to be done in such a way, because they knew that the living ones, they will try to get in and take all the treasure. And the dead people, they need to have enough wealth because they need to pay their way wherever they were going. You see, the only money that is going to be good in your way to the presence of God is your misvotes. You see, that is money in the bank. And the misvotes doesn't mean that you are totally good and nice. It means that you are obedient even when sometimes you have trouble to be obedient. It's because what our Creator does, as Jeremiah Yochanan say, who can know the heart of man? Treacherous is, but it is our Creator who knows the heart of man, and He weighs our hearts. Because our Creator measures our intentions. See, this is important to understand about us and who we are. And then he said, it's better that you keep all your treasures in heaven. Everybody understands, how are you going to put my money in heaven? There is a bank in heaven. And I say, first of all, we need to understand the language. Hashamayim in the Hebrew. That is a euphemistic word to say our Creator, our God, our presence, His presence. Make Him your holder of your treasure, your own neshama, your own soul. This is what He's trying to bring us together, to understand. That's what our Rabbi Yashuv is trying to teach us. And then he said, in that place, you don't need to worry about your treasure won't disappear. Nobody can steal it. Cannot be destroyed. It's a fact. And then, look at, because whatever, it's interesting how he ended. Whatever your treasure is, wherever your treasure is, there will be your heart too. What I mean the heart? Your will and your intention. Yeah. I one time I say, please don't be a politician. And politicians, they got upset with me. That's the truth. A politician always going to tell you what you want to hear. Doesn't mean that they're going to do it or not. They don't care. At the end, they don't care. Their promises are totally nothing. It's only, they promise you a lot before elections. After elections, they say, do you believe me? They say, oh, sorry. I'm sorry I vote for you. This is the sad about politicians. We are full in the religion world of politicians. They ask you a lot, they promise you a lot, and at the end they say, do you believe me? deliver anything. Because the only one that can deliver is the Creator. This is a problem. Next, we say is, this is interestingly, how idiomatic expression in the Hebrew language, when it's translated in the other language, and you translate it literal or you're trying to interpret it without understanding the meaning, you lose. I always teach the people, you know, in English, when they are playing a joke to you, you say, please don't pull my leg, you know? Don't pull my leg. If you translate that in French or in Spanish, the same, literally, don't pull my leg, means nothing, you know? In Spanish, for example, we say, no me tomes el pelo. Don't take my hair. You know, you translate it in English, don't take my hair. We say, nothing makes sense if you translate it literally. What you need to say is, when you translate it, you need to explain what it means. You see, there is an idiomatic expression in the Hebrew language that it is the ajin ra and ajin tov. Evil eye and good eye. You know, even we have our hamster that we have the eye, you know, that is part of our tradition. Open eye. What it means is, when you have an open eye, a good eye, I can see through. You cannot hide anything. What it means is you're honest and open. When you have an evil eye, your eye is dark. And when your eye is dark, I cannot see through you. The only thing I can know is that there is something that is wrong. But you cannot see what. Okay? How this is related with money? When you have a good eye, you're open hand. What does it mean to be open hand? You cannot hold anything. Anything that falls here goes. But if you have an evil eye, what it means? Tie. Like we say in Spanish, codo. You know? Elbow. You cannot open them. You need to hit here to open the hand, no? Okay. When it's open, I cannot hold anything, everything is for everybody. When I hold it here, I don't even know it's for me, because I am holding so tight, I cannot even use it for me, but nobody else can use it. That's what Yashuv is talking about. And what he's saying, that the one that is tied hand is trapped. Is trapped in their own prison. Because their wealth, their treasure, their own income or whatever the value is holding them down in a prison. They're prisoners. And they're living only for that prison. And God is teaching us, in who do we trust? Then later on, he's going to talk about, in this Sermon on the Mountain, he talks about what the little birds, they don't do anything, they don't work anything, they don't produce anything, and God takes care of them. Better than the great courts of Melech, the Shlomo Melech, the King Solomon. No, but the point they're trying to make now is in order to let you know what I'm going to talk now, because this is the introduction, as I always like to tell you. Okay, now everybody ready for the real message. Okay? No. Sometimes the message doesn't need to be too long. If you already got all these bases, now you can walk very light. First of all, you start asking yourself, I asked in the beginning, how light are we? What is holding us back? You know? That's the first thing. Because it's not necessarily wealth, it's necessarily what we have put in our life is more important. Because the true matter is, you can say that you love God. Okay? And Yeshua says it's very easy to say, I love God. But to love God, it is not through, say, I love God. You love God through His creation. And what is His greatest creation? Humanity. And what is the humanity? Are human beings. And what are human beings? Even our own family, our own people, our own, you know. They say that charity begins at home. This is something that we need to start. And He teaches basic principles in order not to make us slaves of our own ways, but to free us from ourselves. Israel was coming from a very pagan environment. They wanted or no, they were totally infected by the virus of paganism. And they needed little by little to undo themselves of this paganism. You know, many people say to me, Rabbi, why God didn't shake the head of the Israelites at the moment that they get out after Pesach, you know, and they made them to understand who He was and the true God that He was, you know, because our Creator Himself has given us the opportunity for us to work our way. That is something that sometimes we do not appreciate, but we need to understand that He is giving us the way for freedom, and that we need to work out. We are in a generation of instant everything. Instant coffee, instant tea, instant soup. You know, everything is instant. You cannot wait for anything. You go to a restaurant and you wait more than 5 minutes, you get out of the restaurant because they don't serve you on time. Right now we have fast food. It's the most important restaurant. The culinary extraordinary thing, McDonald's. You know, everything is immediately. We cannot wait. Everything is time. Children want to be adults. Adults, they want to be in the other world, whatever it is. And here, our God is teaching us about what is in your heart. Needs to be what you need to give it to our Creator. And in order to give it to our Creator, what is in our heart, first of all, we need to have a change, a transformation. We need to totally rest upon Him, and we need to go to Emet, to Bitachon. You don't have any idea how difficult it is for me personally. That means to go from the truth that you have understand, and understanding that faith that you have, that you believe in God, to the point that you trust Him. You see, to believe is not enough. Trust is faith in action. And believe me, you know, one of the problems of religious people, they fill their mouths with words about faith, but they do very little with their actions. Actions speak louder than words. And when God asked Israel through Moshe Rabbi to bring all the things, He he starts from the most valuable to the less valuable, to see where their hearts were. There was no a judgment to any of them if they didn't bring anything. Because our Creator doesn't want for you and me to do anything because fear. But he wants for us to do for him, to follow him, because it comes from our hearts to do it. You see, if you follow God, for what can you get, you already get it. If you follow God because of the special thing that you can obtain, you already obtain it. You cannot commercialize God. You cannot buy God. And you will be surprised how many religions have bought God, or their God. They have the talismans in the pockets. They have the fetishisms. They have their idea, the little things. They're holding this, you know, and only when they need a special protection, they remember him. Whoever they remember, because I don't know sometimes where they're going. I told you that what Yeshua is saying here, it is, no one can have two masters. Because you're going to love one and hate the other. May I ask you, which one do you love and which one do you hate? Where are your intentions? Where are you going to? What do you want? Everything that we do, what do we do? Because I want to have a better life? Or maybe because doing what I want to do will be a source of blessing to others too. You see the difference about our way of thinking? The Terumah of the elevation, the offering to elevate from God, comes from within us. It is very sad sometimes that most of us, we need to be, all of us that we have our communities and communities that we love God and we want to serve God. It's very sad sometimes that we need to beg for people to help us. That's very sad to me. I'm one of those ones that I am totally against to ask people for money. People say to me, you need to ask. You don't like it, but you need to ask, because you don't ask, you shall not receive. And there are two things. But what I pray, what I wish, is that all of us has a contagious heart. Like these people of Bnei Israel, like when God asked them to give, they ran to give without measuring, without costing, without thinking, oh, this is mine. You know why? Because here is the key of the word. In the Hebrew language, God never said, give me. But he said, bring me. Kaha. See, it's a very different word. Why he never said, give me? Because God doesn't need anything from you or me. He's the creator of the world. There are certain religions that they teach that God needs us. And God cannot do anything without us. We are again, the center of the world, you know. God chose me because I am special. God chose me because I am smart. God chose me because I am the best. And what does Torah teaches? Just the opposite. I choose you because you were nobody. That was the reason that we were chosen in Israel. And now we can put in a pedestal if we wanted, but the truth of the matter, we were chosen because we were nobody. We're the little bitty people. Well, we make a lot of problems to a lot of people. But not for us, because of him. Because, like I said to you before, the Amalekites are all over the world. The Amalekites, they don't hate Israel. The Amalekites hate the God of Israel. Even that they say that they love God, I don't know which God they love, because they love the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they will love the people of Israel. That already tells you about how crazy we are. And then this parashat Terumah is bringing us to the reality of living with him and not to be politicians. It's not to offer by mouth, but offer by deeds. Not to say, I'm going to do it, but do it. Not to wait for somebody to ask you, but you start doing it, participating. This is what God is asking all of us. When he made them to do this place that he was going to do it, the Ohel Moed, the sanctuary, the Mikdash. How many times God said to us that he doesn't need a place where to live or to reside? Who can make a house to God? Who can build a house to God? If God doesn't need a house, why he asked the people to build a Ohel Moed? For him? I want to have a mansion. I want to show you how rich I am, how powerful, how popular I am. Everything that God asks us to do is for our own sake. Because we are in the process of growing up. Going back to Rabbi Shaul, he told us, interestingly enough, that we are the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. Interesting? It's the same one, the same understanding about the Betoham. That our Creator will dwell in us. Because the true sanctuary walks around the world by his people. This is the reason that we need to be light to the world. Because being light to the world, we are showing the presence of our Creator and what he has done, not only for us, but he can do for the world. It is not to be only talkers. I repeat again, it is very practical to be doers. You do not need to convince anybody about anything. What the major religion is trying to do? To convince you that their religion is the right religion. To convince you that they have the right doctrines, and to convince you that they have the true God. If they have the true God, they have the true doctrines, they have everything, why they need to kill others to convince them that that's the right way? Well, their God is not powerful enough to convince the world. This is the problem that we have today. We need to keep going and growing. We are based, most of us, in that I am right and everybody else is wrong. The people of Israel, when they were asked about to bring it to God, the Terumah, he didn't say, only the good people can bring it to me. He said, only the rich people can bring it to me. Only the ones who they don't need it, bring it to me. All of the willing heart. And that is the big difference for us today. The big difference is our intentions. You know how you heard the saying, you say, this world is full of good intentions? What is the difference between an intention and the action? Do you remember when I said to you just not long ago about emet and bitachon? Emet means faith, bitachon means trust. Emet means that you believe or you think that's right. But trust is to put in action what you think is right. How many of us we are in the everlasting world, flying, and we do not walk here on earth because God brought us here down to earth for doing something. Our time here is important. Each one of us has been given a role to play. Each one of us is important. In their own way, is important. All of us, we have a responsibility. We will do and we'll obey. We will do and we will hear. Every rabbi, every sayer, ask why they can say we are going to do and then we are going to hear or obey. Needs to be just the opposite. First you hear and then you do it. The key of this is when God made you and made me, He gave us His likeness and image. And when you were born, when I was born, we already had in us to do good or to do evil. And we need to work on that. Certain religions say that the only thing we have been born to do only evil. You know? What a wrong religion. Then, like somebody asked me, then what God was going to create somebody that was going to be evil all the time? You see, God didn't create us evil, as many people teach today. Or we inherited the sin of our fathers, especially the sin of Adam and Eve. And because we inherited the sin of Adam and Eve, now we are all corrupted. Let me tell you this. If Adam and Eve were created perfect, in the sense of that they couldn't do anything wrong, we were still in the Garden of Eden. Because they couldn't do anything wrong. But God made us. He loved us. He likeness and image. And we can think and do what we wanted to do. And even we could disobey Him. What a great gift that He has given to us, even that we cannot appreciate it. This is the reason that when he asks us something, he never ever forces us. Because it needs to come from us, our desire. When you are moved, listen carefully, when you are moved to give, don't hold yourself. Don't check who are you giving sometimes. When the need is there, don't become a judge, but be merciful. Even if you give it to somebody that maybe is not the best person to give it, the one that wants to judge that is our Creator, not us. This is the proper way about bringing to God what our hearts tell us. No any rope attached, anything there. I want to do it because God is going to love me more. I want to give something to God because in that way He's going to give me, make me win the lottery. You know, a dear friend of mine said, every time I buy my ticket for the lottery, I promise God that we are going half and half. You know? Sometimes could be true, sometimes couldn't be true. I remember one time, and I'm going to finish here. Satana is the truth that I experienced. One person one time said, I promise that when I sell this and I'm going to make it such money, I'm going to give the 10% to the community. Came the time, and supposedly that person didn't sell the property according to what this person was expecting to sell. But she sold it and made a profit. But because this person didn't sell according to the expectations, then this person said, I don't need to give you anything. And they didn't give anything. The saddest part is that the life of this person was a mess after that. And when I say after that, I am not talking only about financially. I am talking about the life of the person was a mess. You see, don't promise anything. Don't say anything. Let your heart work. And God will show you where you need to put your treasures. And the real treasure of God, the moth and the worms cannot